out there for a number of, I don't know, weeks or whatever, and they had to go clean them up after a while.
Think of those poor horses.
Yeah,
20,000,
they weren't able to be used for battle anymore.
but they were hamstrung. So those horses are sitting out there spalling and braying and tripping over each other.
Yeah,
And so there's a lot of chaos.
yep.
But nobody,
It wasn't a pleasant place to be.
it's got to be bad.
I read a story about the Civil War and the smell of bodies and stuff in the fields and stuff that, pretty terrible. Glad I wasn't in it. Yes.
I enjoy the phrase that we hear in other parts of it, like, you're always surprising them by coming upon them suddenly.
Yeah.
That's what they did when they would start, when they were, the Gibeonites were coming in.
Yeah.
Everything was suddenly, and they're surprised and they overtake it. Diet.
It's kind of funny that, you see a lot of battles where the troops are surprised. It's just, you think you'd be out there all ready for a battle, that you would be, sitting around with your sword in hand, ready to go. But they were surprised.
I think in this case, the Lord picked the battlefield because Jabin had the people all assembled up in that area where he was, near his home, right? And so, if you're assembling, you're probably not intending to have the battle where you're assembling, but to go forward away from there. And yet they got caught, let's say, at their home camp, and they didn't have a chance to put their battle
Yeah.
into use.
They looked like they were a good 100 miles or more away from where the Israelis were. And so they must have had one of those forced marches.
Yeah.
And they went right up there to attack them.
If you go 60 miles on a forced march, at least I would be pretty exhausted by that.
Yeah. Well, these guys were good shape, not like us. Okay, but yeah, we think about the poor horses and stuff being hamstrung, but that was God's instructions, and that's the way He wanted it done. Yes.
There's also, God says, don't accumulate horses or chariots. That's one of the things. Of course, Solomon did that, but and David did to a degree. But this is why I think one of the reasons they did have the ring is because they couldn't be, like you said, couldn't be used in war, but they could still use them for pack animals or whatever else.
Yeah.
Particularly tug-right, I guess. But, so it's a thing that happened, of course, God was in control of all of this, and it didn't matter how many soldiers were there. And,
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Let's go on to the next question. What was done to the king of the city and the people of Hazor? Beverly?
Captured Hazar and the king and all his people with the two.
Okay. Anybody have anything else about that? Yeah.
This is the one where I wanted to ask a question, like, who was the king of Hazor or Hazor? And I had an assumption on who it was because of the verse that says that this was the king that was in charge of everything.
Yeah, Jabin.
So I'm thinking Jabin, but I don't know if that's the correct reference.
Yes.
Just wanted to ask.
It just said in verse 1 it was Jabin was the king up there, but when you get down to what is that, verse 10, and instruct the king. So I thought the king was already dead at that time, but maybe I was mistaken. Oh, maybe he had a royal heir that was there. I don't know, while he was out fighting the battle.
Yeah, here, I see it now. It's in verse 1.
Yeah, that was Jabin there in verse 1.
Larry,
Yes.
you know, when this didn't happen as quick as we read it, it took the time to do this, all these cities and everything. But now we see Joshua after he conquers all this land and chases the army. Now he's coming back to systematically destroy all these cities, or the people of these cities, I should say. And so I think it was a calculated thing that God, in his plan of war, was doing this, and God actually, the time period, we don't know what it was. It wasn't a long time. But if your king is dead, what do? You get a new king.
Yeah.
And so it's not unheard of.
Yeah, you got to have a leader there leading your city. So,
Well, in verse 18, it says Joshua waged war a long time with all these kings. So, however,
yeah,
it took a while.
well, that's another question, but don't get ahead of yourself there. Yeah, it was a number of years, actually. Okay, let's see. We just got 6. Let's go to 7 here, if there's nothing else. All right. What was done to the other cities and other people? What happened to the spoils? Karen.
Well, from Hazor, they got to take the spoils and the livestock from Hazor when they killed all the people. They wiped out everybody except the Hivites, and Gibeon.
Yeah.
Cities that were on mounds were not stood on mounds.
Yeah, that was interesting. I was wondering what the mounds meant. And, one commenter said that it was towns that were built on the ruins of other settlements. So maybe they were sticking up higher. They were built on the old ruins, like little, I don't know, miniature mountains or something. I don't know. I was kind of curious.
There was some comment concerning that Hazor gets burnt, but everything else, they leave it as far as the buildings are concerned. And the comment was that they had to leave something they could live in so that they could not have to build their cities in order to move in. They just killed all the people.
Right?
Yes.
Well, they were, right at the very beginning, they were a city of man, which they couldn't take anything. But all the rest of it was left for the Israelites to take as possessions and houses and whatever. And the land is going to be divided up later in our reading. But so these cities were possessed, sure. Why would we burn a city down and then build another one on top of it? Now, cities were burnt, and they were cities built on top of it. Jericho was one of many cities you find built on top of another. But they all were, at least they would take the parts of it and use it in time. So there's no question that they were able to recycle even back then.
Yeah, you could take over the vineyards and the lands and the fields that you didn't plant and stuff and use them.
Food, how you gonna have food? You gotta wait for next year.
Yeah. Now, when they came in, and the first, seemed like I remember back when they came in and took over. Man. Okay, what I'm trying to say is the leaders seem like the leader, the king that's the leader, his kingdom, his city gets wiped out and burned up. And then the other cities were just the follower kings or whatever. Theirs were left for use of the Israelites. But like God was making a example of the head ones that were, getting everybody together to fight against his people. That's what I was thinking about. Anybody got that idea?
Well, I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but particularly with the Hivites, they decided they were not to kill them because they had made a pact
Right.
with them not to do that. And the Hivites were supposed to serve the
Right.
Israelites in some way.
The woodcutters and the
Right.
water bringers and all that stuff. They didn't get killed like everybody else did. So they just got to work for the Israelites. Yes, Ken.
Yeah, I think verse 15 there is significant because as we read about the destruction that's taking place and the people that are destroyed and so forth, the buildings that are destroyed or whatever, it becomes significant because it gives insight into the fact that this was not random occurrence. It wasn't just a rabble group that was out, just lost their mind and went and destroyed everything. It says, just as the Lord had commanded Moses, they did these things. And so, I think it's important to think about that because it takes a lot of effort to destroy stuff, believe it or not. And so, they have a purpose and they're a disciplined army.
Yep, and God tells them what's going to happen. This time tomorrow, you're going to.
But they have to
Oh,
do it.
Yep, they got to go through a series of things.
They are the instrument of God at this time. As I said, before we read, and God hardened their hearts and made them go to battle, basically, because they might think it's their idea. But apparently God hardens their hearts. They go to battle and sure enough they get destroyed, which was God's choice for them.
Okay, anything else?
Larry.
Yes.
These group of people, all they named here are Canaanites. They're all descendants of Cain. But they broke up, just like we see the Hivites were the ones that lived in Gideon. But Gideon was the only city that saved. There's other Hivites scattered throughout the land. But they didn't get saved, only the ones that made the agreement. So the Gideonites were a sect. And I think, in my mind, this is how it would happen. As time went on, you would have a leader. And so he would have a bunch of people that followed him. And so they would call themselves after him. And so now we have the Hivites called Gideonites because they were in that city of Gideon and it was named after somebody. And so that had to be the leader probably. And so it's a breaking down of how many times? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 1,000 years of time from Canaan on down, and from the flood on down. So there's a lot of time for this to break off and break off and break off.
Okay, anything else? All right. Let's go on to question 8. What territory had Israel captured? See the map? I see the map right there. Well, there's a description there. If anybody have any? Okay. If you read the 16th and 17th verse, it says, Then Joshua took all this land, the mountain country, all the south, all the land of Goshen, the lowland and the Jordan plain, the mountains of Israel, and then its lowlands, from Mount Halak and ascent to Seir, even as far as Bel-Gad in the mountain, or in the valley of Lebanon below Mount Hermon. He captured all their kings and struck them down and killed them. So It was the part of the promised land there that they got. But there was more to come in the future. Anybody add anything to that?
Sir was down there where Eden was, and Mount Hermon was way up in the north.
Yeah.
So you see that, the area, if you want to just use those comparisons. So it was a lot of the land.
Yeah. From Dead Sea to up past the Sea of Galilee.
Quite a ways.
Yeah. Yeah, probably maybe a couple hundred miles. Could be up to 200 miles. And let's see, anything else? All right, let's go to,
So how far away is Lebanon from north of Hazor? Is it north of Hazor?
Lebanon.
I don't know for a fact.
Yeah, my map, it says Phoenicia up there.
It's Phoenicia.
This was a conquest of Canaan. Phoenicia was there. I don't think, well,
Valley of Lebanon, wherever that is.
yeah, I don't see it on here. It's pretty small writing, so a little difficult to see.
I was just wondering how far north they went.
Well, it looks like they went a couple 20, 30 miles, at least by the scale that I got here, up past the end of Sea Galilee, it looks like to me. Maybe 20 miles or so up there, unless you like kilometers, which I don't. Okay, let's try the next one here. Now, number 7. Oh, covered it over. What was done to the other cities? I already got that one. What am I doing here? Number 10. 9. Oh, okay, 9. How long did this take? Long time. Now we got some numbers here. Anybody have any numbers? Ken.
You know, I found a reference, that was highlighted to me by Kaufman's commentary. Anyway, he goes into chapter 14 of Joshua, and he brings up the discussion that Caleb has. And Caleb says, you know, he says, I was a certain age, he was 40, when he first went out to spy out those Anakim and so forth, before they started their long march, the 40 years in the place. And he says, I was 40 years old when that happened. And then he says, we came out and we did all these things. He says, now I'm 85 years old. So by a little deduction, we say, well, he had 40 years in the desert, he was 40. Now he's 80, he's at least 5 years. So the answer that Kaufman came up with was 7 years. Well, I read the section and I said, well, if you add a little month on this end of the year and a little month on that end, maybe it was somewhere between 5 and 7 years when Caleb was talking about what they're doing. So I don't know.
Well, I just said 7 because 7 is a good, perfect number. That's why. Yeah, I got the same reference as you had there.
The source of the reference
Yeah,
that I know about.
that's a little Bible arithmetic there.
Chapter
Yeah.
14 of Joshua.
Yep, Joshua.
I was reading it and thinking, what in the world are they trying to say here?
Yep, a little deduction there. Okay, anybody, anything else on that? Okay, now we're up to 11 here. Man, I scratched too many X's on my numbers here. Okay, glad you keep me truthful here. Number 10, right? 10? Why did all the people fight against Israel? Why would they do Paula?
Well, it says that the Lord hardened, which could also mean strengthened the resolve in their hearts to fight against Israel.
Yeah.
They harden their hearts anyway.
Yeah.
Definitely, they harden their own heart. But how did God harden their heart? That's the question. And I could walk right ahead. But, it's because they wanted something, and God said, if you do this, you're wrong. See, that's why this whole land is being destroyed, is because of what they were doing. And so, God, Abraham's time was trying to teach them not to do that, but they went ahead and done it. And in that period of 400 years plus, 600 years, but, they were doing this, or doing what they wanted to do. So God made the law, they weren't keeping it, so God hardened their heart because the law said this, and they wanted to do something different. So their heart was hardened by themselves because they didn't want to obey God's law. Therefore, God hardened their heart. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sounds good. I might just throw in a little 2 cents worth here. The 7 years, long time. So the nations, they were encouraged to fight because this wasn't happening immediately. You know, it's like justice denied is justice not given or something. You know, if you don't punish somebody right away, they keep on doing it, you know. So anyway, these guys thought they had time to get a bigger group together or something here to fight against the Israelis, or Israelites, I should say. The nations were given an opportunity, you know, to do their evil, and they embraced it. You know, they were presented an opportunity to fight against them, so they went ahead and grabbed that, and they said, we want to battle it out with them, and they lost. Yes?
The Hittites were the only ones that wanted to make a deal with them. They could
Right. Yeah, we had
no one else had a deal.
Yeah, we had a good long discussion on that, about the Hivites, the Gibeonites, people from Gibeon. Okay, anything else? Yeah, I don't know, I kind of feel for the Gibeonites, you know. I think they came out better for it because they ended up being taken into the, you know, they had to do some hard manual labor and they were cursed with that, but, you know, a lot of us, they were alive. Okay, yeah, well, let's see, we got enough time here maybe to do this last, number 12, let's try that one. 11. Man, you know what? I keep scratching off before I get it done. Scratch that off, okay. Who were the Anakim and where did they live? Yeah, Karen.
They were the giants. They had been seen 40 years before by Caleb.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why they didn't go into the land then was because they saw the Anakim.
Yeah, we're like grasshoppers.
Yeah, they were huge. And things, I have that they lived primarily in Philistia, Gaza, and Ashdod.
Okay, I had it divided up the mountains in the mountains of Hebron, Dibber, and Anab. And they said, I don't know, there's a fascination with finding, you know, the skeletons of giants. You know, the archaeologists are always looking for that kind of stuff. And it says that commentator I read, they said they were coarse physically. You know, they weren't look like us. They were kind of, you know, like, who was that guy? Andre the Giant, the wrestler. He was a, you know, big dude. And Lurch on the Addams Family, big tall guy. Not very handsome though. Okay, so these guys got wiped out, except there were some left. Yeah.
ancestors of these people. But this is what, 300 years later, time of Judges, time of the Judges. So they're still there at the time of David, so they weren't completely wiped out.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, well, anybody got anything else on that? Okay, let's stop there.
Yeah, I'll do the next one. It's so timely to what we're doing.
Okay. Okay.
Number 12 is so timely.
You got an answer for it, number 12? Where else does the Bible mention them?
Numbers 13:28, Deuteronomy 1:28, 2:10 and 9:2, and Joshua 11:21, 14:15, and 15:14.
Okay, you found a lot of them there. And
We'll start at 13 next week.
yeah, we'll go ahead and start at 13 next week then.
And that finishes in 12.
All right. We'll have a song and then we'll be dismissed with a prayer. So, oops, better take this off and shut it.